Maybe I can answer this way. I pick out Miguna's point in terms of what can the media do to try
mitigate.
Try help the voter make a decision.
Correct.
The media, in my understanding, even in the Western world or in the democracies that have thrived, the media is a powerful tool to try shape the opinion. It doesn't mean they are going to change and make people think, but they shape the opinion. And I think the answer for that is in two ways, which I think our media has lacked. There is the aspect of research. Research. By the time a story comes up in the headlines, and this particular newspaper is going to reach 5 million people, I expect the amount of research put in this to be more significant. Let me give an example. If I write a simple paper to publish in a law journal, remember how many people will go through my paper? Yet, my paper may only be read by around 5,000 or 10,000, but it will go through so many proofreadings that by the time it is adopted by the editor to be published, so much cross-checking and fact-checking has been done that the end product will have absolute facts. So I would expect the bar even to be higher for the media, in the sense that if they pick up a story, if they pick up an individual, can we do a critical? And I think the danger has been possibly, I would not accuse, but I would think the danger would be, especially for my generation, this younger group, our mode of research is not as thorough as it should be, where we just go online, we pick any story online, we copy paste. The danger with that is anyone can put up something online. That's why, for example, in the academia, we don't consider Wikipedia to be a source of authentic academic quote. You can't quote Wikipedia as a source because anyone can put information there. So if research can be done about individuals and clear facts given, one, that mitigates on the part of people now are informed, people know. Then secondly, the media should also come up with the editorial aspect. I've seen it in newspapers. I think it should also go on radio as well as TV, where previously I've said we shouldn't pretend, even if it means the media becomes partisan. At least it is important we know their position, their standing. For example, in the US, the media are either conservative, liberal, and they make it clear. They give their opinion. To the extent 2 or 3 months before the elections, they make a call. Fox will, for example, come on board and say they are endorsing Donald Trump. So with that, we would have been able to answer that. And I think we shouldn't think that our people do not have aspiration for good leadership. I've demystified that. If you go sit down and listen to the leaders, to these voters, it is because they are disenfranchised by poverty. Poverty is the main reason that stops them from getting there. Because if Boni can come along, solve their problem instantly. Like, for example, right now our economic is a bit hard. Then Boni shows up, offers food to a family, and possibly they were going hungry that day. Wouldn't that change their minds and say, this guy is good, possibly I should give him the vote? So it is out of desperation. It is out of desperation. Show them something good. We only need 2 or 3 examples. If someone wakes up today and gives us proper leadership and empowers the people, and I think, for example, Boni, I don't think it is by fluke you've been elected 3 or 4 times. I'm sure it goes beyond handouts. You can confirm that?
All right, but maybe I think this is a very important issue. 1 minute. This is a very important issue. We are using this media house, and we shouldn't behave as if they are doing us a favor. This is the time to put pressure on the media that the media must live up to it. Who is a celebrated media man today? I remember in my university days and later on in life, there was a great man called George Gidi. He was a media man. He was the editor of the Standard. And Mutai, you'll remember, the university was a few years ahead of me. This is the man that Moi detained because of the kind of media work that he was doing. A young man died recently at Citizen Royal Media called Waweru Mburu. You could read George Gidi, you could listen to Waweru Mburu, and you see that is somebody who has done research and is not anybody's sycophant. The media is not doing enough. If politicians were brave enough to speak to how they are molested by media correspondents across the country, after a function you must pay. All right.
But before we come to Miguna, I don't think. No, just a moment. Just a moment. No, we would just sit. Just a moment.
To also realize that the media is not an extension of the civil society.
Fantastic.
I mean, media is a business.
Right, just a moment. Okay, let's not get into the business modality of it. But first of all, Bonnie, I think as media also we reflect what the society is.
Absolutely.
And we are the converbal, and we give it. Yes, that's where we start from. Just a moment. Just give me
that's
because
the opinion.
Just give me a moment.
Does that represent the opinion of the nation media?
No. We actually reflect what the society is, and we leave it up to you to think. What do you think about what they're doing? Can I just finish? Just a moment.
And media.
So, no, just a moment. If we actually churn out and we show that the corruption, the muck and the mire that we have in the civil service, in government, we convey it to the public to judge for themselves. This is what they're doing. We've brought to you. No, just a moment. No. Some of its cases of corruption that we brought to the fore. We can talk about Triton, NYS scandal. We can talk about the Maize scandal. And even Joshua, Kipto, you were here last week when we were doing the decision 2017 with the nominations. And we did a critical analysis of every leader that also is in NASA who is not really embroiled in corruption.
That is not true.
No, just a moment. Even we can actually take the time. Just a moment.
Let me tell you what you did. Let me tell you. During the presidential debate. The presidential debate of 2013.
Can I finish my point? Because I would just sit there and I let all of you.
You're forcing us.
You actually bash media.
No. But I don't think. No, we are not bashing the media. And I'm going to say this.
Yes.
Just factual with the issues because.
Let me comment on this.
Yes.
I don't think you're getting the point, and I want you to get the point. And as a moderator, usually a moderator does not,
of course,
take sides opinions that way.
Which is true.
So you have to restrain yourself because you're not a commentator like us. So just ask your questions and moderate.
Yes.
But let me say this. That was not the point. The point is this. For instance, we know that there is a lot of corruption in Kenya, and in fact, it is the #1 problem. And we know that because of corruption, by elected and appointed leaders, who then use their networks, the cartels, to get more money out of public coffers, either public assets, tax money, or land, the people get to be poor. These people get to be so poor, and there is unemployment, and then the so-called leaders manipulate the poverty of the people to appear like they are magnanimous or they are generous to perpetuate this culture of dependency. The media should cut through it and say leaders who are perpetuating the culture of dependency are not helping the population, for instance, because you need to be able to create jobs. So pass policies and laws, create an environment that can nurture growth, economic growth, and prosperity so that the citizens of the country can be independent. An economically and financially independent citizenry will be able to choose a leadership of integrity. This will be good for the country. That is the role of the media.
Thank you.
The media is not just a megaphone. The media is not just an echo chamber. You are not simply supposed to reproduce what somebody is shouting at. And I'm trying to tell you this. For instance, we have leaders in Kenya with criminal records. People who have been convicted, for example, and have even gone to jail. The media should be able to go to these jails. The media should be able to investigate and get the information to the public. The media should be the one confronting these people with this information. The Auditor General, the EACC, the Director of Criminal Investigation.
Thank you.
All these bodies have come up with information about leaders.
Yes.
The media is failing the citizenry by not confronting these leaders. You just give them, you gloat, you glorify them.
All right, thank you.
Can I?
Welcome to Honorable.
Yes. You see, we are talking about the media. The rest of these newspapers, the rest of it cannot be said to be the input of the media. When I read a paper, I mean of the Nation, when I read the Nation newspapers, I read everything, but the one I think is the position of the Nation is usually the editorial.
Yes.
So if you look on page 14 today, in the editorial on the crisis of food prices and the high cost of living, this is what the Nation has to say. It says the cause of the current food crisis is the long drought that affected our country and the region last year and early this year. That is their position.
Yes.
Then they go on and they say that President Kenyatta's pledge to tackle this problem is welcome. That is the nation. They are selling Jubilee agenda. On the same page, the only person who has now come and said the truth is Macharia Gaido. Macharia Gaido's idea should have been the editorial. Macharia Gaido is saying, don't be fooled. Food shortage is the result of misrule and graft.
And yes, he's an editor of The
Of the
Nation.
Nation
No, he
newspaper.
stopped being.
He's a retired journalist.
Let me make my point.
He's an
This is a
independent
very
journalist right
This is
now.
a very important point. Why is it important? The Nation Media House is trying to sanitize the government for the graft and misrule that it perpetuates. And yet we know that this nonsense of calling members of parliament to go to parliament this week to go and pass a supplementary budget is making people forget that less than 5 weeks ago, the same parliament passed
A budget.
and there was no provision on the projections that there would be shortage of food. There was no money put aside for it. So why are they calling them?
Right.
Let them administratively just deal with
Okay,
it.
let's say from
Parliament is not going to add anything.
Senator Wamatangi.
Yeah.
Baboni Khalwale, you should have actually read the whole editorial piece. Not just picking bits and pieces. Then
I'm a quick reader.
No. Then you're taking you're
Doctors and
quoting it
lawyers read quite a lot.
out of context. Okay.
You know, Dibal,
It's a small thing.
Dibal, I hear my colleagues.
Yes.
And
Doctors and lawyers read
partly
quite a
in
lot.
some areas they are quite right in criticizing the media. But I also say that that you should not at all, move from the center of what the media should be doing to satisfy any particular interest. And my point is this: one, and I made this point before. One, the media is business. It is a business. It is a self-run business. And business interests for any businessman must come to play all the time
Must
to
be based
sustain.
on ethics.
Now, one, two, also, the media is supposed to be a platform for the foolish and the intelligent and the know-it-alls and the business people and the politicians and the analyzers to express themselves. And there is no way the media can be said that you must hold this standard according to Miguna because this is the standard that he sees, or this is the standard that Halawale sees. If Wamatangi is so foolish, in his foolishness, that is how he expresses it. If Miguna is so timid, and this is how he expresses it. If Boni Kalole is so apolitical, I mean, those are the views, and it is the work of the reader. Because also, in the world, we have known media houses which, as you are saying, have driven political agenda even to the demise and destruction of nations. I mean, there are media houses which were dominated by Hitler himself, and he would dictate, because this is how the media has got to express itself. You're only premising that argument on the fact that the people who dominated the media to give that so-called opinion are good people. But supposing, and we have even had that history here in our country, when the media has been under the control of the people who think that this is what is good for the nation. And I say the truth is this.
That's not even
The
my
truth
point.
is this, that whatever opinions are expressed by the different shades and areas and sections of society, that is what you should put plain and bare. What they were saying, that you go to the jails and get all the evidence, that is true. Get it and put it on print. When that person who was jailed comes and says, this is my opinion, put it on print. You're not supposed to go and make judgment. Then the judgment is upon the reader to say that this is good content.
At the end of the day,
Yeah.
Can I
right,
just
it's
say
not
something?
for
Can
the
I
media
just-
to make
For
an
the media
opinion.
house to come
Right,
and
thank
say
you.
that this is the right
Can I
one.
just add something? You know, the bar. I happen to have spent quite a bit of my life in the media. All right, and I work for the media for a long time. And first of all, let us accept that it is good that the media be criticized. Let's start from there. It is very important that the media be criticized because media is so important.
Powerful.
You know, the fourth estate
Very powerful.
is such a powerful tool in terms of maintenance and sustenance of democracy, and the well-being of our society. And therefore, we must never get to the point where any institution, whether may it be the executive, may it be the legislature, even the church, or even the
Even the
media,
Pope.
we must never get to the point where there is an institution that cannot be criticized or that resists criticism. I think it is important that that the media open up this criticism, just like they have been themselves oversighting other institutions. It is important also for the media itself to be oversighted. And I think there is an exercise that is going on here that amounts to that. But I don't think it is in bad taste, or I don't think it is in bad faith. And I think that there is no reason for us to defend the fact that it is being criticized. I think it should be criticized. I think that it is true that the media personalities or people who work in the media come from our society. And therefore, the weaknesses that exist in our society also exist in the media. Now, should they be rising over and above those weaknesses? I think yes. I think that the nature of the institution is because it is so representative, because the media is such an important part of our lives. I think it must rise above, just like we expect members of parliament. Never mind whether they do or they don't. But the reason why a member of parliament is called honorable, let us never forget, why is a member of parliament called honorable? Because they are supposed to be honorable individuals. They are supposed to be individuals who rise up above the weaknesses of society and speak to the well-being of society and the vision of the society. Now, are they all honorable? Absolutely not. You know, is the media in keeping with what it's supposed to be? Does it do that as we speak?
It
Absolutely
does not.
not. You know, so let's criticize ourselves so that we can better ourselves, if you see what I mean.
This man should have been the governor of Nyeri. I would want to be with him in the Council of Governors.
And the Council of Governors.
Yes.
All right, let's hear from Joshua Kipto
I think I will
before we
petition
take also
people
comments
to
from our
pass
viewers.
the decision.
Joshua.
Now, I think we have aptly put it.
By the way, who won in Nyeri?
There's something that I picked
I have
out.
no
If you
idea.
look at the Constitution, Article 34, when it talks about the freedom of media, the Constitution itself protects the media freedom. So, for example, I was just trying to answer Honorable Senator Wamatangi about the media being a business entity. That is not a lie. It's a fact. However, does it mean they climb down their moral pedestal and their ethical pedestal because of business interest? Then that would even portend more danger to the country. The way he says Hitler controlled media, the same thing, business interests can control media. And in fact, there's also an appendage to that discussion. Let's look at the influence of social media. Social media has become so powerful, has become an antithesis to the mainstream media, to the extent social media acts as a check to the mainstream media. That if a mainstream media pulls a false story, coached and tailor-made in a particular way,
Yes.
the same is deconstructed in Twitter and Facebook. Because
Yes.
if someone else comes with a factual, with video evidence and says this is the position, then we wouldn't have a case for that. So my main element should be, even though the media has business interest, they shouldn't fail to exercise their moral position and their ethical position. That's why I insist we need to go the editorial way, both in radio and in TV, because if we just let it be in the newspaper,
Yes.
that makes the media kind of lame duck. And more importantly, those
Wakili,
for the last 3 or 4 months, the concern let me just finish.
from the Bible.
Let me just finish
You know,
that.
I mean,
The last 3 or 4 months, they have been concerned that, for example, the government can use its advertising muscle to try dictate the opinion and the way the media should write. That itself now should be the danger, whereby if you are to focus on the money end, the government is the biggest advertiser. I presume they contribute maybe 50-60% of the advertisement in the newspaper. So if you are to follow the business route, then it would mean if the government brings in 50% of your business, then you would have no moral to criticize them. They'll tell you, we give you the business, so why should you criticize that? So if the media can take up and say, okay, fine, this is our business responsibility, but at the same time, as others have said, the power and the influence of the media lies in it being factual, truthful, and objective. That should be the case. But if a media house chooses to go partisan,
fair,
then they should make it clear. Let it be a policy. I think one thing the Kenyan media has not tried is we have not been bold enough to come up with partisan media station, in the sense that they make their policy clear, where their viewers would know that
Partisan
our
in-
position
partisan
is
in what-
this.
in what sense?
Partisan in the sense that they take political positions. They say, for example, we are pro-government,
so how-
and
how-
go,
how-
For example,
go ahead with it.
Kenya Times.
Go
Kenya
ahead with
Times
it.
used to support KANU.
Go ahead with it. Make it a policy.
But Kenya
was
Times was
it-
actually
So-
a
was it
government paper.
constructive?
Exactly.
Yeah, in
It
the
is
first place.
constructive in the
Okay.
sense that
Was
the
it useful?
viewer.
was Kenya Times a useful?
But you see, the viewer would have
contribution?
expectation. They already know
I mean,
what to
because
expect.
in the first
Yeah.
place, you started by saying, you know,
Okay.
that what the media should do, and that was Meguna's argument, that if you have a demon in society, and these are the standards, it's the work of the media to point it out.
Yes.
And see, that's where
It is
he's
part of the work of the
yes,
media,
that's
yes.
where you started from.
Yes.
But again, now when you shift,
I didn't say demon. I don't use the word
when
demon
you
myself.
shift the argument
I use
again
criminal.
to say that the media should go to the extent of being bold enough to express
I've said some can choose that route. If they make it their policy,
Okay,
there's
thank
no
you.
problem.
Then what
If they
you're
make it
saying,
their
what
policy,
you're
there's
saying,
no problem.
Wakili, is, you know, partisanship can be in any form,
But the
shape,
Bali,
or
if I
no
understand
All right,
interest.
just a moment.
Yeah.
We need to take also our views from the viewers as well. We can see a lot of, or a rush of tweets also are coming through. So Usha, she's standing by to do that for us this morning. Usha?
Right, so Dibal, you discussed a raft of issues today, but it seems from social media that the most popular was the issue of independence. So we'll just get straight to it. We have at Ekuru, who says 95% of our politicians only join political parties for expediency and further because of a tribal party leader. We also have at Andrews, who says the so-called political parties are mere fictional constructs. Next we have Kipleting, who says most politicians are running independent because they lost despite free and fair primaries. We also have Jacob, who says we need more voter education to weed out men and women of questionable character. We have Ali Daib, who says, I foresee a situation that in 2022, every Tom, Dick and Harry will be an independent candidate, even the fourth estate. And finally, we have John Gidanga, who says the days of political ideologies and philosophies are long gone. The current breed of politicians is skewed towards having individual gain. So that's all that we could read for now because of time, but do keep the conversation going. AM Live NTV is where you can find us. That is on Facebook, on Twitter, and on Instagram. Back to you, Dipal.
Right. Thanks, Usha.
But Debal,
Yes.
if I could, even that is a philosophical position. If you are just individualistic, you know, the greed, the rapacious greed of an individualistic capitalist, that's also a philosophy. I actually tend to agree, but with qualification, my friend, counsel here, regarding disclosure, full disclosure. In most advanced democracies, the disclosure is not based on party affiliation. That is the only distinction I want to make. It is based on philosophy. For example, there is a liberal media. So we know New York Times is a liberal media, and the Washington Post is a liberal media. The Huffington Post is left-leaning but liberal still. Then you have the conservative media, Fox News. So that when an issue comes, when Fox writes an editorial, you know that they are ideologically inclined that way. It is important. A media cannot have no philosophy. A human being, by its very nature, by our very DNA, have a philosophical orientation.
But
your outview of life. So what I'm saying is this: a business must have a position on what they, on where they stand on all manner of issues. So today you cannot be liberal, tomorrow you are conservative as a media, for example, or a media house. So I'm not saying that conservative is good, that liberal is good, or progressive left is good. That's not the issue. The issue is this: where does the public interest lie? Whether you are liberal, whether you are conservative, whether you are right-wing. And this is where I disagree with with the Honorable Wamatangi. He's saying, look, the media must just reflect what the popular will is. But you know, Hitler was very popular in 1935-36.
That's what I said.
No, but I'm saying...
That's what I said.
I'm saying, no, but listen to me.
He was open,
no, but you're not listening to us. You're not listening to
all right,
us.
okay, let him finish.
Our point is this, my point is this, and my friends here agree with me. An independent, balanced, objective, professional media would have called Hitler out. They would not just be echo chambers.
All right,
of,
but
of
what if? No, just a moment.
Let me make
But
make
what
a
if?
point on that issue? On
all
that
of us,
issue,
all of us, just to chime in, just a moment.
Because you see, Dibal, and you know, Miguna could be partly right, but you know, expose the truth or detail it to the extent that it's all known. For example, in all those media houses
Yes.
that you're pointing out,
Yes.
in the US and in Europe,
Yes.
who are inclined to a certain philosophy,
Yes.
then open the other part of the
But that's
story.
what I say.
Just a minute. Open the other part of the story,
Yes.
and also say that majority shareholding in some of those, and remember the story of somebody like Rupert Murdoch.
Yes.
I mean, some of the majority of the shareholding in
Yes.
those newspapers
Yeah.
is by those politicians,
So?
or by investors. So
That has nothing to do with my point.
they will subscribe to an ideology
Yes.
because they also have interest.
No, but shareholding is not
Okay.
an
I mean,
ideology.
Thank you.
they're investors.
Shareholding is not
they're
an ideology.
investors who are business people in that
All right.
in that newspaper, and so they will dictate
All right,
the
thank
philosophy.
you. All right, I
That's
need
the
to come
point.
in here
I
because
say public interest.
So you will have
No, public
you,
interest.
you will have 10 newspapers
All right, thank you.
controlled by 10 politicians
Thank you.
with different
Thank you,
ideologies.
Omatangi. Thank you, Omatangi. And I think also it is good to criticize the media, but we should also lose the whole point about why we are here today, because we're looking at the political parties, the primaries, what really happened, and we're talking about the ideologies of these particular parties. Because even if now we go to another cycle and we'll have the same parties which are bereft of ideologies,
Right.
bereft of policies, we'll still be coming
why the
and
nomination
criticizing the
must be
media.
different.
Just a moment, because after all, even if we have good policies or the media editorial policies, and yet the content that is coming from the political parties or whichever party and regime of the day it is, will still be spewing all that is coming from. Of course,
but
passing
the
it through the filter and the grid of our
Fine,
editorial
but
policy.
this
Just
is
a
the
moment,
point.
right? Tell me right now, of all the leaders that we're talking about, out of all the parties that we have right
Yes.
now, which particular parties can we pick up that is not a conduit and a vehicle
Right.
just to make sure that they carry through the electioneering process? But after that, they don't keep up to the promises as well.
Debal, I
Right?
don't think you're getting our point, and let me make it crystal clear now. Where you're not getting the point is this. Just because our parties are fictional constructs, just because the leadership in Kenya today are glorified thieves, most of them, doesn't make the media a conduit of that to a propagator of that orientation.
Thank you.
So essentially what you should be doing is this. You should be exposing the parties, the fictional constructs, to the citizens. You should be dissecting the hypocritical leadership, for example, to the public. You would be presenting to the public honest, genuine leaders with a vision and integrity, and be giving them equal airtime.
Thank you.
What you don't have now, what we don't have now is that every day it's about Jubilee, it's about NASA, it's about Jubilee, it's about NASA.
Okay, thank you.
It's like madness because all you are
Thank
looking
you.
for are sales. And I'm saying, yes, the media is a business, but the media is also a profession, a very honorable profession. The media is an institution,
Thank you.
and the media is very important.
Right, let's hear
Play your part.
Let's hear from Honorable Boni Kalole before, so we hear from our viewers as well.
I am just appealing to the media, in all honesty, to listen to the voice of the Constitution. The one thing about the Constitution of Kenya, which makes it outstanding in the whole world, is the Bill of Rights. And inside that, Chapter 4, 3 institutions have been specifically mentioned to protect all those rights. The first one is the media. And the media has been given expanded freedoms to have independence, insulated against the state, what have you. The second one is the courts, to arbitrate on areas where the rights of a Kenyan are being abused. And the last one is the Kenya National Human Rights and Equality Commission. So if the media cannot read the Constitution and realize that they have got a sacrosanct role in the Constitution of protecting these rights of Wananchi, then they're in the wrong place. They should go and live in the Banana Republic in the imaginations of Wamatangi, where he's saying it is simply business. Wamatangi, if everything which is business is good, then we would be promoting.
Kalwale, you don't get my argument.
We would be promoting those companies that produce
you don't get my argument. Actually, it is you who will be
Toxic.
living in your own banana republic. Because I'll tell you why. I mean, facts must be facts. You see, when you try to make an argument here that a media house should subscribe to a certain philosophy based on the opinion of a certain group of leaders, where are you
Based
living
on
the
the
rest of the
Constitution.
Kenyans? You see,
We
the
just say
work of
public
the
interest.
of the media, and that is why they are given that latitude by the Constitution, is so that they can be independent, period. Independent,
So that they can
independent
serve
of your
public
opinion,
interest.
independent of your philosophy, such that the philosophy of those that you think are not intelligent the way that you are.
Let me give
Just
a practical
the philosophy
example.
of the philosophy of those people who sell mandazis on the street.
No, we are not saying
They-
that.
Thank you.
Okay, let's hear from,
Senator.
Now he's standing his-
to a certain notion, my friend, that this is how the media should be
But now
operating.
it
They
is
should be
people who are
free
selling
for
the
everybody.
Thank you.
Against
Senator,
Let me
Senator
just give
Kagwe,
let
please.
me just give, just to balance out,
Please.
just to balance out all these issues. Let me just give some practical examples of what I think the role of the media would be in this kind of circumstances, irrespective of the ideological leaning that the media has. For example, we have a situation in this country where the Constitution determined that the qualification for certain positions or certain the governors, for example, and the others would have this kind of qualification. Now, it takes not the media, which it should, but sometimes it takes an individual from nowhere to go to court and challenge and say, Miguna is not qualified to be a governor in this country.
Correct.
One would imagine that once people present themselves as potential governors in certain areas, the media, going by what Joshua was saying earlier in research, would be researching and saying, this man is saying that he is qualified to be governor, but we know that when you look at his CV, this man is not qualified to be governor. This constitution or the law says that 8 months to an election, we are not supposed to be carrying out harambes directly or indirectly. We have witnessed for the last couple of months, from February up to now, continuing harambes everywhere. And what do people stand up and say? In order for them to show how popular and how generous they are to the public, they say, oh, you see these members of parliament, they passed a very selfish rule that says that they're not supposed to do harambes. I want to help this harambe. That is why I have given these 100,000 shillings. And they get away with it.
But
Never mind.
But let's
never
not
mind.
forget.
Okay, hold on.
Let him finish. Let me finish.
I am just pointing out
point,
issues that exist in our society, very clear examples of where the media would play a very critical role in pointing out that it is not true that this individual is the way he is saying. It is not true that this law is not being broken. These are things that are very clear, that can be, determined, reported by the media as information.
But remember,
let's hear from Kipto. We'll come to you. Just a moment.
I should answer him something. Just simple facts. Absolutely. Ideologies are not set by leaders. Ideologies, as in fact, by the time we say this is a theory or an ideology, it is something that has gone through so much rigor and research and has been widely accepted. So it is not set by leaders. So I would understand Wamatangi's concern that leaders can come in and dictate. Leaders do not dictate ideology. Secondly, when it comes to facts, research always gives rise to facts. And facts are facts. You can't lie. For example, if I'm interviewed and I claim to be a flamboyant businessman and I claim that I'm worth 50 million, yet the people who know me, and if basic research is done, it is realized that I'm just a petty fraudster out here who masquerades in order to con more. I'm already demystified. If I come on board today, for example, and that has been the kind of trend, if I show up today and claim I'm a professor, and the media takes the story and writes and say Professor so and so.
They even call people professors who have never been professors.
And then a day later, in fact, for the university, for example, for the university, you only
let him finish. Let him
Doing
finish.
very well.
Let me finish.
don't
You
know
only
my 5 minutes.
you only need to go just go search about my credentials. Ask for my registration number.
Correct.
Ask for when
What's
I
the
graduated,
university?
which university.
did you
For
graduate
example,
with?
the University of Nairobi, even after graduating, you can still assess your results. The portal is still active. So if I go in, I'll confirm in 2012 I graduated. Now, those are facts. It is not about a political leader setting the agenda of the media. Not at all. Facts are facts. So when it comes to ideology, if the media is to take a position, it is not dictated by politicians. And we've just mentioned in this forum here that our leaders are devoid of the same ideology. So why should you fear that the same leaders can come dictate the same? Not at all.
All right, thank you.
Dibal,
Now,
yeah.
hold on, we have callers who are hanging on the line. We'll come to you.
Let's remind our
Wamatanga say amen.
contributors.
Just a moment.
Let's remind our contributors. There is a law called libel. And that's what you need to remind this gentleman. If you go to your go to your records now,
Some of us are
gentlemen,
practicing it.
those things that you are talking about,
Yeah.
Mr. Dibala and the media houses,
Yeah.
if you fall for that, my friend, you are going to also increase your portfolio on how much you pay, because
Right.
every
You can't
other
sue fast.
person, my
You can't
friend,
sue fast.
Okay,
my
just
friend,
yeah,
every
that is
person
if it is
protected by the
fact
law.
free.
You can't do it.
Just a moment.
Even those that
All right,
you-
just a moment.
Even the person that you think is not clean,
Yes.
to your own thinking,
They have not sued
to
me.
your own,
All right, thank
to your
you.
own thinking,
All right,
cannot
Wamatanga,
be
thank
judged
you.
by the media.
Thank you. Yeah.
That's why they pay people in libel.
Thank
in
you.
cases
No,
in court.
no, no.
All right, thank you.
You don't understand.
No, just a moment. All right, okay. All right, just a moment.
It's not
Yes.
their work to
Just a
judge
moment.
somebody.
All right, let's see if-
story. It is the work of the
Wamatanga,
court.
you don't understand
So
the
what-
law.
what-
Sorry,
what
just a
you can
moment.
do,
Please, please.
you can go
Let's
and
observe some
sue,
decorum
but
a
you
bit
cannot
so
tell
that.
the media to judge somebody.
All right, thank you.
and pass
Thank you.
judgment on
All right,
them.
thank you.
I don't think anybody
Let-
is
Just a
saying
moment.
that the media should judge somebody. I think we are saying the media should report
Research.
and research on facts.
Objectively.
But here, objectively. Thank you.
Indeed,
Yes,
very objectively,
objectively.
because it is
On all the opinions.
absolutely.
And
But it is
express
being,
of
but
all
Thank you.
opinions.
Wamatangi, if a person is running for governor and a person is not qualified to run for governor,
Yeah.
then it is not libel. It is a
It's
fact
the truth.
that this person is supposed to have a college degree.
All right,
media
based-
is-
This person-
the media
All
is
right,
not
thank
a
you.
judge.
Based on a research,
No,
based on research,
Based on facts.
yeah, based on
Yeah,
research
based
and
on facts,
facts.
based on
Thank you.
facts.
You report the facts, but you don't pass the judgment.
Thank you. We have to hear also
You
from
can
our
report
callers
the
who are
facts,
hanging on the line
but
this
not
morning.
pass the judgment.
Thank you, Wamatangi.
The person is qualified, not
You-
qualified.
you-
Actually,
All right,
the
thank
leader
you.
can pass judgment if the person is lying.
All right, we have callers hanging on the line this morning. Good morning.
You can.
Hello, good morning.
You only report on the facts, Miguna.
Hello, Steve, good morning.
Hello.
Yes, we have callers, please. Can we?
Hello, Mr. Dibal and the panel.
Morning.
Sasa mimi Dibal,
Yes,
ningependa kwanza kuongelea ile mjadala ya kwanza ilikuwa food security.
yes.
You see, mimi kitu Dibal najua na bullfighter nimependezwa na maoni yake. You see, when you have a government yenye West of let's get inaitwa pesky meat.
Yes.
Like now Dibal, I stay in Busia. Tunaruka ng'ambo ile unga tunakula ya Uganda, dengu tunanunua Uganda, sukari right now the bad and I'm talking like now bei ya sukari hauwezi inazidi kupanda. Chumvi saa hii gorogoro moja Dibali hiyo yenye mtu ananunua hapa wa chini alafu apike chakula akule ugali akule. Dibali saa hizi it runs to 116 na kusiaga shilingi 10, that's 170. Uko na watoto 7. Nataka kutuma Wamatangi na Mr. Kawe tafadhali na watu eleze what went wrong when the CS alisoma budget na akasema ya kwamba those cartels wale millers wamepewa duty free ya 3 months, walete mahindi alafu bei ishuke, na ndio inasidi kupanda zaidi. Bullfighter, mtetezi wa wanyonge, nataka uulize Wamatangi hivi what went wrong? The government has the machinery, has the nini kusema hii kitu ifanywe hivi. Mnyonge, mtetezi wa mnyonge ni kuambia ujenge barabara, ujenge sijui ghorofa, ujenge reli, when mwananchi wa kawaida anatembea na njaa. Hizo vitu sitaona tafadhali.
Thank you.
Lakini ukifanya kama nimeshashiba nitaziona. So Wamatangi, please, can you, since you are the president, the president is French, can you explain to us what is going wrong? Sisi tunaangalia saa hii hatuwezi kupata chakula kwa meza.
Thank you. Asante, Steve, from Busia. We have another caller hanging on the line. Robert, good morning, Robert.
Morning, Department.
Morning to you.
Yes, I just have only three points.
All right, let's pick one, sir, because of interest of time. Just one. A
One,
pressing one, yes.
I just want to ask the panelists
Yes.
if it is right for the party primaries to be eliminated and let the leader of the party choose his players and come to the field and play with whoever is standing for independence or not standing for independence. And again, the story of the media.
Yes.
The media has been lying to the public because you can get something happening on the government issue. They bring it on the flashlight of the news, then abruptly they delete it completely. And when you switch to another media station, you find that thing is being heard and it will not be repeated again. And it is so crucial to the public demands it, and yet the way it came to the flash of the screen, it went off and it became a silent thing up to the moment you desire able to look it at the newspaper, you will not afford to get it again.
Thank you, Robert.
And to our brother Muguna, I know that his tongue has never been on lying. Can he take us to the point of elaborating what happened on 2007 election?
All right, thank you, Robert. We have Philip hanging on the line as well. Good morning, Philip. Right, seem to have lost Philip. Right, let's just respond to our callers, because I think also the very ticklish issue about the food prices is what also we were meant to discuss this morning before we went off rails with the media as well. That is what the Kenyan on the ground is actually feeling. Even if you talk about, yes, can we just comment about this?
Mr. Debal.
Yes.
Food security, and that is why I was talking about public interest. Public interest is about the basic necessities of life. The public want food, but the same public also needs employment, because it is employment that will ensure that you are able to feed yourself for an extended period of time. Independence of the citizenry, rather than handouts. Because you see, Mao Zedong used to say, it is more important to teach the people how to fish rather than to give them fish.
Thank you.
And right now you have a leadership, which is really not a leadership, that believe that you keep people poor so that you can give them handouts to feed for now, but not for an extended period of time. So policies and programs that will make sure that we have food security, because agriculture is addressed.
Thank you. 30 seconds.
Very important.
Thank you. 30 seconds, and we are actually on a rush. 30 seconds.
Yes, Steve from Busia has gotten it right about the high cost of living. And may I just go straight to President Uhuru?
30 seconds.
President Uhuru has been busy talking about grandiose infrastructure projects, Huduma centers, laptops, and what have you, and not forgetting that the critical thing is that no Kenyan should sleep hungry, no Kenyan should die because of lack of food. Do you know, it's amazing, the ordinary person in the villages knows that the food of the middle class and the rich is rice and chapatis. But ordinary people is ugali, maize, and beans. But today, unga flour is more expensive than rice, is more expensive than wheat flour.
Thank you.
This, therefore, calls into question the issue of the management of the economy, which is the reason why maize, which is supposed to be the cheapest, has all of a sudden become not only more expensive than these other foodstuffs, but it is even more expensive than petroleum products.
Thank you. All right, Honorable Kagwe, 30 seconds.
I think that it is correct to say, that we shouldn't be in this position where we are in, where food prices are way too high, beyond the reach of a lot of people. And I think, first of all, it is commendable that, just like the nation is saying, it's commendable that some action is being taken to bring down the prices, which are basically based on this drought that came, created a demand and supply situation for maize, where the price of maize has gone way too high. Now, that is no excuse. Because the minute you see the signs of a drought, somebody sitting somewhere should have said, if we don't mitigate this thing, if we don't start importing food right now, then in another couple of months, maize will be very expensive in our country. And I think that let's accept that a mistake somewhere was made, but let us also appreciate that action is being taken. I think the president has got the right action in place so that supply of maize, serious import and supply of maize is what is ultimately going to bring down,
thank you,
the price of food in our country.
Kipto.
A quick one on the same is that I think on the issue of inflation and our spiraling economy, it's a simple case of policy failure. I hate it to sit here where we just sit and say that it is drought and everything, yet these are policy issues. The government has had 4 years, I had 5 years. They should have done, they should have planned. The only reason we have a government of the day is because they dictate the government policy. They are the executive. Apply the policy, execute the policy, a long-term policy, not everyday problem, like every single day we'll be back here, the same thing over and over again. And importantly, let also it be a lesson to the voter that the policies of a government have a direct impact on the everyday life that they suffer, so that if a government gets its policy wrong, the ripple effect is on the people. So I hope that can be a challenge that when it comes to election, policies of each of the coalition will be put to test, as well as individuals.
Thank you. Thank you, Joshua.
Thank you. I just want to say to the caller there who spoke on food security that we hear him. It is indeed true that most Kenyans are suffering, and it's also, as my colleague said, commendable that measures are being taken. But to say the least, we need to do much more, and that's why this country requires a visionary leadership like is being offered by Jubilee. And I remember sometimes back when the leadership of NASA were openly opposing strategic measures to address these issues of food security. Remember, like the Galana Kulalu project, which is one of the projects that was intended to mitigate this kind of circumstance. What we should be having is more of that. Remember, even in NASA themselves, they have been opposing and criticizing every time when government has gone to try and build even dams to reservoir water in places that are hit by drought. And this is all a cause of that drought. So what we require is a leadership that can see the future, because there is no way you can legislate on when drought will come, when it's going to rain.
Thank you. Thank you very much, gentlemen. I
want to bring these party extremists.
Yes, we should actually continue this conversation next week on food security. Thank you very much.